Um, so basically, I already started laughing because it's like really obvious fact that everyone already knows, but I just had to say it. So basically, it's like if a person takes something like oxycodone in a pharmacy, it's not going to be even remotely similar to something that they would buy on the streets, because in the streets they're going to sell you heroin plus elephant tranquilizer. And obviously, they're not going to have an elephant tranquilizer in your medication at a pharmacy that's being sold at a pharmacy. Obviously not. Similarly, if someone is getting amphetamine from a pharmacy, it's not going to be even remotely similar to the crystal methamphetamine that they sell on the streets. The reason is not because they're adding something like an elephant tranquilizer, it's due to the fact that street drugs, basically, what they do is they take away the tolerance that are in those drugs, and they have methods of doing that. Like, there's a drug, it's called MDMA. It is also a stimulant, and it is incredibly potent. Not only is it already potent, it's also got a very low tolerance. It's basically has a tolerance of almost zero, and that zero tolerance is basically created by accident. What it is basically, the thing that happens is every single drug that is basically made, when you take a drug that is similar in its structure, but even if it has a difference, a little bit of a difference in its structure, with the main functional group being the same, but you change some other parts of that structure, basically the tolerance for that drug is completely taken out, and you get the fact that you got almost as if it's the first time you took it. They're not letting me talk right now. They realized this from the drug MDMA, where the structure is a resonating structure because it's a benzene structure that resonates, due to which what it does is every single time a person takes it, they get the effect almost as if it's the first time they took it. The people that actually make these street drugs, they know about this fact, and they basically, when they make their drugs like crystal methamphetamine, they're going to make it so that it resembles MDMA, liquid MDMA, as much as possible, in order to take away tolerance from that drug as much as possible, making it almost impossible for the person to ever get off of it due to its addiction. The less the tolerance is, the more addiction it is. Tolerance, basically, if the tolerance is lower, by changing the structure even minutely for each one of those drugs, what happens is each and every single time the person would take it, they would get the same the same effect that they got the very first time. So it has to do with how the neurons in our brains work, and the dendrites that we have. And there's this thing, it's called an action potential. It has a magnitude. So every single time, basically what happens is when you take a medication that you take from like a pharmacy or something, the myelin sheet of it are damaged each and every single time. When you take a similar drug with a little bit of a difference in the structure, they're not letting me talk. What happens is it goes through a totally new set of neurons to give you the same exact effect, since the main functional group of that drug is the same. They're not letting me talk. So basically what I'm trying to say is street drugs are not the same as the drugs that people take in pharmacies. Street drugs are totally different. They are made in such a way so that the person cannot ever get off of it. And like I would say 99% of people never ever get off of street drugs. The people that you really hear about going through rehab and getting off of it are mainly people that go through alcohol withdrawal and things of that sort of nature, not street drugs. Street drugs, it's mainly made in such a way that a person cannot ever get off of it. And the way that they would make it is by taking away the drug's tolerance that they already, the people that make street drugs obviously know about this fact. And then what they do is they take away the drug's tolerance, and what that does is every single time the person takes it, they get the effect that they got the very first time, and they also make it incredibly potent as well. So that is what basically is causing. That's basically what a street drug is like. The way that you know that these street drugs are totally different from like the normal drugs that people take is due to the fact that people that take street drugs end up overdosing on it, whereas people that take normal drugs usually do not overdose on these drugs. They would never overdose on it. Yeah, it's true that you do give overdose materials from pharmacies, but people that usually take those drugs from pharmacies are not going to overdose on them because it's not the same kind of it's not made the same way. They're not letting me talk. Basically, street drugs are made in such a way that the tolerance is lowered. You get much more of a high effect, and you get much more pleasure out of it, due to which you want much more because you got to remember, when a person takes a street drug where the tolerance is already lowered and the potency is already increased, much more than that could be sold inside of a pharmacy, they're already experiencing pleasure and euphoria more than they've ever could have imagined in their entire life, ever could have had from any medication, whether it's amphetamine or oxycodone or anything that they could have gotten in the pharmacy or anything of that sort. They are already experiencing pleasure and euphoria more than they could ever have imagined possible in their entire life. So basically what they end up doing is they end up overdosing on it. There's no way of controlling it. It's a human being, and that human being has for the very first time in his life experienced euphoria and pleasure the way that they could not ever imagine have having, due to which they will definitely 100% overdose on that drug. They might do it once every 2 weeks, or if they're really good at it, they might overdose at it once a month. But they will definitely overdose on it, and they will definitely continuously overdose on it. That is the number one sign of a person who's using street drugs. Whereas even a person who takes something like oxycodone from a pharmacy, rarely would you hear about a person overdosing on that oxycodone from the pharmacy. I worked at a pharmacy for so many years, never had one person come back and say, or their relatives say that such and such person overdosed on it, or such and such person died from using it. Whereas street drugs like heroin, they will definitely die from using it due to other things that they might add to it. Or street drugs like crystal methamphetamine, they will definitely end up overdosing on it. Overdosing basically means that the person takes so much of an increased amount of it that they are forced to call the ambulance, and the hospitals are basically forced to undo the effect of that drug that person had basically taken. So yeah, that is mainly what happens. And street drugs, basically what it is it's totally different from anything that you can get from a pharmacy. So like, obviously that goes without saying. Like, I crack up every time I say that, because it's kind of obvious, but the reason it is obvious is it's something that people have to know about. And the reason it's obvious is due to the fact that, let's say they sell oxycodone in a pharmacy, what they sell on the streets is going to be heroin plus elephant tranquilizer, which the person is basically going to take until they literally die. Let's say they sell amphetamine in a pharmacy, what they sell on the streets is crystal methamphetamine, which is basically going to force the person to overdose again and again till they basically die. That is the main difference. a person who's taking oxycodone or amphetamine in a pharmacy will definitely let go of it, mainly because the effect is going to, they're going to get used to that effect. So a person who has like ADHD or something of that sort of nature is going to take amphetamine, but after a while, the drug is not going to give them pleasure anymore. It's not going to give them the feeling of euphoria anymore, due to which their own mind will tell them like this is not feeling good, and the doctor also said that don't take it, so you might as well not take it. Same thing goes with like pain medications like oxycodone. After a while, I'm sure the person would get sick and tired of it. Yeah, this does not hold for street drugs. Street drugs like crystal methamphetamine, because the tolerance is removed. So let me do heroin plus elephant tranquilizer. It sounds really weird to put elephant tranquilizer in a drug, but yeah, when you take something like that, you will never get over the effects of that. Elephant tranquilizer, heroin, obviously, and the same thing goes with like crystal methamphetamine, which is made to mimic a drug like liquid MDMA, where the tolerance is lowered and the potency is increased. The person is never going to get over it. In fact, there will be a rate of overdosing. He might overdose like once every 2 weeks. He might overdose at a rate of once a month, but he will definitely overdose, and he will overdose at a rate instead of someone doing it overdosing once a year or something like that, of that sort of nature. Whereas a person taking pharmacy medications is never going to overdose. They're never going to call the ambulance. They're never going to go to the hospital or something like that, because those drugs are not made like that. If they were, trust me, the government would have taken out these pharmaceutical companies like the next day. Yeah. So basically, yeah, literally worked so many years in a pharmacy, never heard of one person dying from heroin or amphetamine or any of these drugs that they took. Never even heard of them or their relatives coming back and saying that this and this person overdosed on it. Whereas I remember my own doctor one time told me a story about a relative who was not able to get a job, and he went and he took heroin for the first time, and he just died right away or something like that. So basically, yeah, these kinds of things, yeah, it's true. So basically, yeah. So the thing about it is, the relatives that I have, a lot of them have kids that are drug addicts, and not like they're like the kind of drug addicts that would get their drugs from like the streets, like crystal methamphetamine or something of that sort of nature. And drugs that are like crystal methamphetamine would, for South Asians, because of the way that they're metabolized due to an enzyme known as cytochrome P450, basically have a higher addiction potential in South Asians than even heroin would. So basically, yeah. So basically the thing with a lot of the relatives that I have is that fact that they're incredibly envious of me. For one, I ended up getting my college degree by sleeping on the streets while giving my 108 exams. And the other thing is I ended up with a brain savant, and anyone who knows me in high school would tell you that I do not even drink alcohol. For the past 10 years, I haven't even had a control medication. And I have never in my entire life bought a street drug ever in my entire life. And yeah, and it would be unthinkable for a person like me to be drinking so much alcohol or taking so much drugs with overdose or something that I'd be forced to call the ambulance or something. I have never bought street drugs my entire life. Not once, not ever. So basically these relatives of mine, basically they're really like envious of me, not only due to the fact that I ended up getting my overseas college degree by literally sleeping on the streets and giving my 108 exams. They would have their own kids, and they would send their kids to places like the Caribbean and stuff, and their kids would not be able to do it. They wouldn't be able to handle it for more than a day or so. Yeah, and I ended up being the person with the brain savant. So basically, at the end of the day, what ended up happening was they got together with people in basically law enforcement, and they basically told them that we want to make a false testimony against them. And we know for a fact that they made this for plan from way before November 20th, due to the fact that before I went to Russia around November 10th, 2025, I told them about all the false testimonies that they were making and that they made in the past. And what ended up happening was they freaked out, they panicked, and they went over to the spokesperson, Ibrahim's greedy framer mother, and they told her that they basically told her that he knows about our false testimonies, and she was so envious. She's like, no, I'm still going to make it. I'm still going to make it. The reason we know that she's extremely envious is simply due to the fact that she told a government informant herself that she was extremely envious of me and my brain savant, and that she was extremely envious of me and my brain savant, which is why she was fabricating these false testimonies against me. She told this to the government informant. How do we know this? Because as soon as she got caught, what she ended up doing was, when she went from envy to greed. Now, if she hadn't confessed this to the government informant, hadn't told the government informant that she was doing this due to the envy for money, she would have never gone for the greed for money. But she did go for the greed for money, and she went for it immediately after being found out as already having confessed everything to the government informant. How do we know she went for the greed for money? Mainly due to the fact that on March 9, 2026, and on April 6, 2026, she was trying to advertise her daughter, for Ibrahim, the greedy framer spokesperson's sister, to me over and over again, where she advertised her 3 times on March 9, 2026, and then again on April 6, 2026, just a couple months ago. So basically, we know for a fact that she also confessed to the government informant that everything that she did due to the envy for my brain savant and its monetary potential. And we know this for a fact because she would have never asked me to marry her daughter while she was arguing against me, unless if she had already confessed this to the government informant, that she would only wanted to enviously lock up my brain savant due to being extremely envious of my brain savant, that's why when she got caught with the November 20th false testimony and the subsequent lies that she'd already confessed to the government informant about, that's why she basically went straight for the greed for money, which was by asking me to marry her daughter 3 times on the morning of March 9th, 2026, and then again on April 6th, 2026. So basically, yeah, that's how we know. If she had not confessed to the government informant that everything that she was doing in terms of fabricating was all due to extreme envy of my brain savant, there's no way she would ever ask me to marry her daughter twice, 1 month after another month, right after finding out that there was a government informant, due only to the fact that she had confessed this to the government informant, that she was doing everything due to the extreme envy of my brain savant and its monetary potential, that artificial intelligence basically marked it as the most rare and profitable in the world. Also due to the fact that it's the only brain savant in the world that grows in power over time. So basically, law enforcement were planning on making November 20th false testimony against me. We know this for a fact because before November 10th, when I was going to Russia, I told law enforcement that I knew about their false testimony from 2023, the wedding incident, one that they wanted to frame me for, but weren't able to. And I told them exactly how I knew. And what ended up happening was law enforcement went over to the spokesperson's greedy framer mother, Ibrahim's mother, because they were basically very scared. They went into a panic, and they went over to her and they asked her, they're like, look, he knows about the previous false testimonies. Are you sure you want to do this? And she's like, no, I have to do this. I have to do this. I want to do this. I'm going to do this. I have to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And so basically, she was really extremely envious and aggressive, and she was just like, I'm going to do this no matter what happens. And she was doing it out of extreme envy of my brain savant and its monetary potential. We know this for a fact because she confessed to the government informant, and obviously she was extremely envious. So the thing that I really wanted to let everyone know about is the fact that there is a reason why people in the government support me that do. And the main reason is the government's known these people for a while, whereas the news media and everyone has else have only found out about them from the mass panic and chaos after November 20th, 2025. The government knew about them from way before. So let me give you an example. Not 2025. This is November 2023 that I'm going to talk about right now. Just one example. So we're not talking about November 20th, 2025, the false testimony that the spokesperson, Greedy Farmer Ibrahim's mother, made against me on November 20th, 2025. We're not talking about that anymore. We're going into 2023, 2 years prior. So in the year 2023, I received a lot of attention from people due to my brain savant, for which I did not tell anyone about. And it became clear and obvious that these people were told about my brain savant through law enforcement. Ms. Dev was already trying to get me married to her daughter in June 2023 after the May 2023 brain savant test was done in Saudi Arabia, proving that my brain savant powers increase over time. After I came back home on July 1st, 2023, there were already a lot of people that would just like kind of follow me around. If I go to Target, they would stop in front of me in aisles and stuff to try to see if I was admiring their faces or not. It's like a girl, and then I remembered like there was a girl in April 2023 when I was near the Indian consulate in DC. So before I went to Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia has a really easy visa system to go there, I was trying to go to India because there's no language barrier there, and I speak Hindi fluently. So I was trying to go to India, and what ended up happening was outside of the Indian consulate in DC, which is like an hour drive away from my house, there was a Caucasian girl with 2 dogs in each hand, and she clearly knew about my brain savant. At that time, I did not pay much attention. I was more concerned about going somewhere, and I wanted to go to India, obviously, because I speak Hindi fluently, and I could just live there very cheaply. But later on, I remembered that girl outside the Indian consulate in DC in April 2023 even knew about my brain savant, an hour drive away from my house, clearly showing that there were a lot of people that were told, but they were told about 8 months after the initial brain savant test was done on August 9th, 2022, which was done for 6 hours, and 6 hours of brain savant data of me studying and absorbing info is undeniable and unarguable, obviously, but law enforcement did not release it for around 8 months till April 2023 because of the social experiment that they had witnessed in Ireland a month after it was done, where people were literally like coming up to me and telling me that they're on my side instead of my stepmother's, because it's just like that video we watched with Ray Dalio, The Changing World Order. Spectators see two sides of war, and they see which side wins, and they go with the side that wins. Law enforcement went and they saw a social experiment where everyone in my who knew my stepmother, some of them were related to her, people that knew her, are told that it's like basically a war between me and my stepmother, obviously. And they're basically told that there are two sides. One side, artificial intelligence has proven to be a billionaire in the future, and the other side is basically barely getting like $3,000 a month. People obviously immediately say we're on the side of the billionaire. It's a social experiment, even though they knew her for like years and decades, and they would come up to me just to tell me that they're on my side. And it's that social experiment that that law enforcement did a month after August 9, 2022, where they told everyone where I was at about it, and they didn't like the results because people would just come up to me and tell me that they're on my side instead of my stepmother's. Law enforcement did not like that social experiment very much, because law enforcement basically went and told people that knew my stepmother. They were like, hey, this kid just showed up yesterday. Him and his stepmother, they hate each other, and he's supposed to be a billionaire according to artificial intelligence, which is what they told about me. And I know this for a fact because every time, like afterwards, like a while afterwards, like every time I would go to the mosque, they would tell the mosque imam to start reading out the part of the Quran that talks about Qarun in chapter 28, verse 76, who was supposed to be a very rich person who was not liked by God. So basically saying you're not liked by God. So they did this a couple of times, due to which I know what they said. Exactly. And obviously also because of the way people were acting. So law enforcement did a kind of a social experiment where in Ireland, I only went there for like a month or two. It's one of the only 3 times I've ever met my dad. So the greedy framer. And so after that, obviously he found out about my brain savant. And so basically what happened was, law enforcement did a kind of social experiment where they told people that knew my stepmother that this kid that just showed up yesterday, artificial intelligence has marked him to be a future billionaire. And this woman, for decades, barely $3,000 a month. And so what ended up happening was people switched sides right away. It was a social experiment that law enforcement did not like to see the effects of, and it's like that video that I watch on YouTube. It's titled The Changing World Order by Ray Dalio. People are spectators. They see 2 sides of a war, and they are waiting to see which side wins, and they go with the side that wins. Well, when they're told something like this, that one person is supposed to be a billionaire according to artificial intelligence, and the other person gets like $3,000 a month, something around there, or their husband does, what they end up doing is people go up to that person, which is me, and just to tell me that they're on my side. That's how people are, and they did this social experiment due to which law enforcement did not like the results. The only person in the U.S. that law enforcement told about my brain savant test was Miss Deb. The rest of the people they didn't tell till like another 8 months or so. So I could tell because obviously the way people are acting, you could tell. So basically, yeah, and obviously the entire time I didn't tell anyone. I'm not that stupid. It's like that lottery winner. You keep your mouth shut and never tell a single person until you cash it out, and then you have some protection. So you could protection in terms of like lawsuits and people trying to scam you and predators and things of that sort of nature. Like right now, like today is July 13, 2026, and after all their rejections and police being called on them at 2:09 p.m. today on July 13, the same M&T Bank together came. Basically, law enforcement asking me to help them scam these women and girls. If I went to go try to scam a woman or a girl, I would end up getting scammed myself. There are already 2 people trying to scam me right now, and that's what I mean by lottery ticket winners bad luck. The 2 people trying to scam me right now are obviously Fur the Greedy Framer and Miss Deb. Miss Deb's story is a little funny. So Miss Deb, Fur the Greedy Framer is like one of those really aggressive and greedy people. She sees someone with something and that's not going to her daughter. That's not possible. She's going to fabricate false testimony. She did it November 20th. Then she did it again. And then she tried to blackmail me. Then she tried to use incest, which was already told February 11th at 3:17 a.m. This is incest. And then she still sends it to me on March 7, 2026, despite being told that sending any porn star's picture with your name on it is an open advertisement for incest. She still does it. And then after that, she makes more false testimonies against me, getting caught with phone conversations, being forced to be retrieved. She's very aggressive in trying to make sure that her daughter is not getting something no one else's daughter should either. And she's also very aggressive and greedily going after something. So starting June 19th, Fur the Greedy Framer basically... June 16th till almost this day, Fur the Greedy Framer starts sending me ads for her abnormal looking weirdo daughter, and obviously it's obviously a scam. After July 6th, I put it in video. This is a scam. It's a prenup marriage scam. She basically wants me to sign that paper under force, due to fear of false testimonies being made against me since she's already made so many. And then what she's going to do afterwards is obviously I'm going to run away after the trial is done, and then she's going to annoy me for the rest of her life with these trials, another court case to try to get money out of me for whatever amount she's going to write in the prenup. It's basically a scam. Even after July 6th, she's still sending it to me, and she sent me after July 6th when I mentioned this being an obvious scam. She sent it to me at least 12 times after July 6th, clearly showing that, yeah, she knows that this is an obvious scam. She doesn't care. She's really aggressive at trying to lock up people's brain savants so that no one else's daughter could get it, just like how she's really aggressive at trying to run for it to try to get that money in any way, shape, or form possible. And Miss Deb, like, I always laugh because Miss Deb's daughter is married. Like, this is like insane. So Miss Deb sees her, and Miss Deb probably sees Farrah the Greedy Framer's daughter's picture, and she's like, if that girl is competing, then I'm putting my daughter in there too. And Miss Deb literally, she puts her daughter, who's happily married, not separated, not divorced, her daughter Ashley drinks coffee with her husband every single morning, kiss each other goodbye, go to work, and Miss Deb is putting her daughter in the marriage lottery thing, which is incredibly hilarious. Like, it's like that bandwagon thing, one person's doing it, and she's just like, well, if you're going to do it for your daughter, I'm going to do it too. But the thing about these people, like Miss Deb and Farrah the Greedy Framer, is before narrating, they were doing this before narrating as well. So it's not something new that they're doing. But obviously, after trying to get me to marry their daughter the entire year of 2024, so basically 2023 and 2024, both Farrah the Greedy Framer and Miss Deb were both trying to get me married to their daughter. Both of them. All day, night long, it was either Ashley's Furniture for Miss Deb, or it was Harbor Freight Hercules for Farrah the Greedy Framer. It was all day long. And they would basically compete with each other in ways you do not want to know. So if Miss Deb would put up like a buy one, get one deal for Wendy's, then Farrah the Greedy Framer would put Sheba Fancy Feast cat food ad, which we later on found out it was incest. Basically, because February 11th, 3:17 a.m., this sick old predator woman, Farrah the Greedy Framer, is told that this is an open advertisement for incest, you sick freak. And she's still sending it to me on March 7, 2026, 3 times. So yes, this is very serious stuff, nothing to be joking around about, and not something that Farrah the Greedy Framer is supposed to be doing. Basically, yeah. So yeah. So the entire year of 2023, 2024, both Farrah the Greedy Framer and Miss Deb are doing this, and then basically what happens is they go against me and start fabricating false testimonies against me and narrating against me, and then going back to trying to get me married to their daughter. Yeah. So nice call in that they use the drugs that make me feel really serious and make me look really serious the moment I was about to talk about incest, which was really big help, and thank you very much, law enforcement, for doing that. But anyways, yeah, it was a serious topic, but yeah. So basically, they use drugs to make me look serious right at the moment when I was about to talk about incest and Miss Deb and Farrah the Greedy Framer competing with each other with really big help. But anyways, so basically, yeah, so that is what was going on. So obviously, I'm already being scammed by 2 different women. One of them has an already married daughter, and yeah, so obviously it's a scam for money. So when they asked me on July 13th, which is today, at 2:09 p.m. to help some freak and sex addict like Junaid scam other women, like, I'm not stupid. Like, I'm already getting scammed by 2 people. Why would I do that? And seriously, yeah, these people are so annoying. Like, Junaid on July 10th was doing the exact same thing an hour before Ibrahim the Greedy Framer was, while I was out on the same night. So basically, they're not letting me talk. So basically, yeah. he's done this before where he's tried to scam girls, and he would tell them stuff like, oh, I'm the CEO of a company, and then later on, like, someone would tell the girl, like, the guy gets paid the exact same amount my sister gets paid. He does the same exact job. The only difference is he loses his job literally every single year. And then what ends up happening is, due to his sex addiction and the fear that he's going to lose this girl and she's going to stop sleeping with him, he ends up telling her everything, even though like 2 weeks prior he would have been saying stuff like, I'm the CEO, I can't believe they found out, I wasn't gonna tell them, but now that they found out, I guess they found out, like stuff like that. It's not true, and then making up stories on top of stories like that. So as soon as the girl would find out that he gets paid the exact same amount my sister does the exact same job my sister does, and the only difference is that he loses his job every single year, what he does is, due to his sex addiction and fear that the girl's going to go away, he tells the girl everything himself. The fact that he loses his job every year, he gets into a fight with people at his work every single year, all day, every day, and he also tells her that, yeah, he was about to get an early retirement and that he's trying to get one right now, but that his mother isn't letting him do so, because yeah. So basically, yeah, all the truth, out of fear that before the other person tells her, he's going to tell her himself, so that way he can tell it to her in the best way possible and lower the chances of him being able to lose a person that would sleep with him. So basically, yeah. These are the kind of scams that these people want me to help them run, which is why today, on July 13th at 2:09 p.m., he was, through law enforcement, asking me to help him scam these girls, which obviously I'm not going to do. I'm already being scammed by 2 different women for their daughters, and they're competing like crazy with each other while they're narrating in the trial against me, and they're competing to see who could get their daughter married to me, which makes absolutely zero sense. It's like saying, Your Honor, this man is a horrible person. And then as soon as they get out of the courtroom, they go over to law enforcement. They're like, is he going to marry my daughter or not? You know, and then you kind of think there's another story to this, because there is another story to this. Both of them know about my brain savant, and they want me to marry their daughter, and they're envious and pissed off about the fact that I didn't marry their daughter, which, for Fire the Greedy Framer, I can tell you right now, it's never happening. First of all, cousin marriages are weird as heck, and 2, her daughter is ugly as heck. Like, I do not want her. I told her June 16th, like, it was forced marriage after that. Anyways, I told her right away. I was like, it's never happening. You got to take her daughter the heck away from my face. Like, I don't want her. Like, what is wrong with you? And then after that day, it's just been like a forced marriage request. And then it went on to a scam, because like after July 6th, I made a video letting her know, like, this is a scam, and I'm labeling it a scam because I'm getting irritated and annoyed by her continuously asking me if I want to marry her daughter. It's obviously not asking. It's like saying, like, under blackmail, and like it's basically a robbery. Like, do you want to marry my daughter? It's like, and then you're like, no. And then the next day they send it again, like saying, like, I'm not asking, I'm telling you, because I'm narrating against you in the trial. So yeah, it's incredibly irritating, annoying. Like, after July 6th, it was labeled as being a complete and total prenup scam, where obviously Fire the Greedy Framer would put that same $60 million price tag that she sent to me at least 8 times after February 21st, thinking that I do not know that she did not have a change of heart. Obviously, they had confessed to the government informant before November 20th on the lies that they were going to make after November 20th. I'm not stupid. And as soon as they saw that the government informant was already confessed to about the lies, she thought, oh, darn, I can't make any more lies up about him, so his brain savant's going to get freed anyways. Might as well send him price tag blackmail. And the one that they sent me for was for $60 million that she sent starting February 21st, at least 8 times, and I've got it all marked out. I put it in her exaggerated journal. And so, yeah, obviously she's going to put that in the prenup, and then she's going to harass me for the rest of my life for that money. And I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it for anyone. So, yeah. And these people could get the heck off my face. Like Junaid, the pervert, the weirdo, asking me today at 2:09 p.m. when he's narrating in the trial against me. And at that same time, he's asking me to help him scam these women and girls, clearly showing that he's sex addicted. He thought that locking up my brain savant would give him a higher chance of being able to run run after these girls. And now that he's seeing that it's not going to, that he wants my help to help him run after these girls. Clearly, these people all have a motive that's revolving around my brain savant, either monetary potential for it or extreme envy due to it, or want me to help them with their sex addiction using my brain savant to scam these girls, which I'm obviously not going to do because I'm already being scammed by 2 different women and I don't want a third one. And so, yeah, but that's not what I'm making this video about. The reason I'm making this video today is to let everyone know about why it is that people in the government basically do support me. The reason is, man, I can't believe I wasted like 39 minutes till now. So basically, the reason is that the thing about it is people do not know about law enforcement. They're not letting me talk. People and the news media basically found out about law enforcement around November 20th, 2025. We're going to talk about November 2023, 2 years prior to November 20th, 2025. So basically, in November 2023, law enforcement were basically running their sex games for Uncle Joey. And the reason I'm starting with that is due to the fact that I don't want anyone getting confused. Basically, the government's been dealing with these people in law enforcement for a very long time. And basically what happened was on August 25th, 2023, I won my case. And after I won my case, obviously I'm not stupid. I knew that there was a brain scanner because all these women following me around never liked me. I was like that poor kid who never knew anyone. I was a complete total loser in high school. So yeah, I didn't have to be a genius to know that they basically knew about my brain savant, which is the only thing that I had that was nice. And if they knew about something I never even whispered anyone about, then they obviously had a brain scanner. So yeah, after August 25th, 2023, I won my case fair and square, and I told law enforcement straight out, I was like, look, I've got a brain savant. I'm a triple savant. I know you know, and I know you have a brain scanner. Now, these girls are following me around. I have no interest in them, but I do want to study, and I have a brain savant, and I want to study. It's my natural habitat that every autistic person has. So I told them straight out, like, I want to study. I want my textbooks. I want to study. I won my case August 25th, 2023. I want to study now. So basically, law enforcement, they're just like, no. They went and they fabricated a false testimony against me very desperately and very quickly because they were scared that if my brain savant would be seen out in the open performing for even 30 minutes, all their sex scams, everything would be ruined. Because then, like a girl finds out that a guy who's not only just a Rain Man, he also has innovation and focusing on top of that. I can prove it to you. Focusing was proven on August 9, 2022, for 6 hours of data. Undeniable, unarguable. Innovation was proven a few weeks before April 22nd, 2025. I was laying in my bed, and they basically told their artificial intelligence computer thing, which I literally call the time machine, and you know why I call it time machine, because they were literally able to go back in time to a time when my brain savant wasn't yet evolved, when I was like a 9-year-old child, and that machine on January 20th, 2026 was able to tell them that I was telling the truth about that being how my brain savant started off before the evolution process. Me staring into the History Channel logo all day as a 9-year-old child from morning till night, and my mother turning off the TV at night. Next day, me repeating it over and over again. That's how it started off. So basically what happened was, they made me forget again using these drugs. They made me forget. Give me a second.